Welcome to the Midlife Men podcast with me, Philip Briscoe. In this episode, I'm joined by Cedric Bertelli. As the founder and director of the Emotional Health Institute, Cedric has dedicated his career to helping people naturally resolve disruptive emotional patterns such as things like anxiety, stress and depression, to help them achieve a higher quality of life. So welcome, Cedric. I have lots of questions for you. Perhaps you can start by introducing yourself and telling us a bit about who you are and your background.
Yeah, happy to. Thank you for having me on the show. I appreciate it. So my name is Cedric Bertelli, as you said. I am originally from France, from south of France. Was raised in a tiny little village, 80 people, on the edge of the Pyrenees mountain. Did the first part of my career up until 2009 working in restaurants and hotels, specifically several of them, but most of my career was done working for the Ritz-Carlton Hotel Company in the United States, in California. In 2009, I quit the company and I started studying somatic therapy. So basically how to release emotional difficulties using not only the mind, but also the sensations, the body sensations. I studied that in France from 2009 to 2011, and then back in the US, in California in 2011, and started my practice there. In 2019, after observing several things and researching, I opened in collaboration with Dr. Jacques Fumex, who is in Lyon, France, the Emotional Health Institute. So now we have the Emotional Health Institute based out of the USA, France, and we opened a branch in Japan in 2023. And through the Emotional Health Institute, what we're doing is trying our best to understand, based on the research out there, how the brain constructs debilitating emotional pattern. And from this understanding, how we can resolve debilitating emotional pattern simply, clearly, respectfully, and as fast as possible. We created a work called Emotional Resolution, or MRES, that allow us to do such thing.
So if it's possible to, resolve your emotional challenges, why don't we do it more often?
Because we don't know how to do it. I think, and you share with me then a lot of men listen to this podcast. Well, what do we learn when we don't feel good? We either way deny it, bottle it in, or we control it. And we control it by different ways, with booze or self-talk or porn or something else, sport, meditation. But we always control or hide how we feel. And if we feel angry, let's say, screaming based on this anger is also a way to control it. We release the tension by screaming. So we don't do it more often. We don't resolve this debilitating emotional pattern because we don't know how to do it.
How are these feelings formed?
So we understand today how the brain, a big part of my job, I think a bit like yours, is to vulgarize what emotions are, demystify what an emotion is, to take away the old Freudian and almost like the all romantic part about emotions. Emotions are not romantic. There's nothing weak or strong about feeling emotions. If we look at simply how an emotion forms, we know how it's formed. We know that at the origin of any debilitating emotional pattern is always the same type of event. In order for us to feel a debilitating emotional pattern, at the origin is an instant of trauma. Now, what is a trauma? A trauma is an instant that hold too much stress, physical or emotional, for us to take on at the instant when we experience it. So it's nothing, it doesn't have to be a rape, it doesn't have to be being beat up, no. It's just an instant that is too stressful for us to take in when we live it. So it depends on our personality, our age, our environment, a lot of factors, define what a trauma is.
And do a lot of these traumas happen when you're very young, in your childhood? And then you carry those through, do you?
Yeah, absolutely. It happened when you're very young, but even before. In utero, for example, in the womb, there's a lot of physical trauma happening as well. It's not 9 months of swimming in a nice environment. That's what we like to think, but that's not the case. So yes, I would say during the first 1,000 days of life from conception on, it's maybe the time of our life when we're subject to the most trauma because we are extremely vulnerable. I mean, if you think about it, we finish our gestation outside of the womb. We are basically the only mammal who can't do anything after birth. So during this first year after birth, we're completely vulnerable to everything. I don't know, thirst, hunger, cold, lack of connection with the parents. And so, yes, you're right. During the first years of life, it's a quote unquote wonderful garden for us to experience trauma. But again, without romanticizing what a trauma is. No, it's just too much stress for us to take on.
And how do you know if you are suffering from a traumatic experience? How do you know, say, if you're an adult, maybe you're displaying some of the behaviours that you talked about earlier, but how would you know to relate those to trauma in your life so that you can start to try and go and get some help?
The good news is you don't need to relate it to any type of trauma. I mean, to answer your question, I know, or anybody knows, that you experience some kind of trauma at some point. And frankly, we experience 10th and 10th and 10th of trauma, right? Of traumatic events. All of us, you know that you experience them because you realize that in your life you're having patterns, emotional patterns coming back, anxiety, fear, lack of self-confidence, and new fears come with aging, right? As we entering a certain age, we have fears about our health, fear about, dementia, losing our ability, our strength, etc., etc. So our environment change, creating new fears. Now, if a fear keeps on coming back and repeating, it is because at the origin was a trauma. Now, to be very precise, what creates the pattern is not the trauma itself. It is the instant of dissociation that we undergo during stress. That's what creates the pattern. When we experience a traumatic event, there is always one or several instances of dissociation. That means that it's too much stress, so the conscious brain dissociates, so we don't suffer too much during that instant. Every time there is an instant of dissociation, the conscious shut down, so to speak, and the subconscious takes over. So instead of having your cognitive mind, the prefrontal cortex, filtering information like it does now for both of us, the filter is not there anymore. So the subconscious takes over. And instead of capturing about 2,000 bits of information, processed at the speed of 150 miles per hour, the subconscious is now, during an instant of dissociation, capturing 400 billion bits of information, processed at the speed of 150,000 miles per hour. That means that every time you dissociate, you're being bombarded by a whirlpool of information that is recorded in your brain in a non-logical, non-linear way. So that's what's happening during instant of dissociation. Now we need to understand that one of the main jobs of our brain is to predict. We constantly predict based on past situation. That's what keeps us ahead of the game. Now, you can see that before eating food that for example, before eating an apple, you know exactly how it's going to taste like. It's because your brain is predicting the experience. We predict constantly. Now, we have to realize that is when our body find itself in a situation, when it recognizes one or several elements, a smell, a temperature, a situation that was present during one past trauma, your brain is going to predict instantly and automatically what physical sensations you're about to feel based on the sensation that were felt during a specific trauma. Those physical sensations, you feel them in your body. It's called interoception. And that's what let me know that we feel an emotion.
So your brain has recorded all of this information. In fact, a huge amount of information if you're under a traumatic situation.
That's right.
But it's protecting you. And so though presumably those memories are present, but they're not necessarily active or unlocked until a particular moment. Is that what you're you're saying.
It's correct. There is a stimulus. Most of the time, a subconscious stimulus. We're going to try to conceptualize a stimulus, right? But there's a stimulus, very pragmatically, without making any story, there's a stimulus in your current environment that recall a memory to your subconscious brain. Basically, the subconscious brain is now predicting that you're about to feel a danger, that you're about to be in danger. Automatically, it is going to feel the sense to generate the physical sensation that you felt at some point in your life. Based on this stimulus, that nowadays is irrelevant. Basically, any debilitating emotional pattern is an outdated prediction from the brain.
So how does that relate then to drinking too much alcohol or other sorts of fairly destructive behaviours?
Well, drinking too much alcohol or taking drugs is never the problem. It's always an attempt to find a solution. It's an attempt to feel better. It's self-medication. And when the anxiety or the fear is too present and you don't know how to resolve it, you need to soothe it one way or another. And often we use alcohol or drugs or porn or overworking out, going too much to the gym or running too much, and we destroy our body just so we can feel a moment of emotional relief. But that doesn't fix anything. In a few days, the next days, this emotion will come back again.
How do you move forward then? So how do you, I think you said earlier, you don't have to know exactly what the trauma was, but how do you go about trying to, overcome these kind of emotional, deeply ingrained behaviors?
It's actually extremely simple. It's counterintuitive, but extremely simple to resolve a debilitating emotional pattern. And you don't have to talk about it, or you don't have to know where it's coming from. Now, when you feel an emotional difficulty, let's say a fear about aging or whatever it is, you feel a fear, the fear is present in you. Instead of distracting yourself or trying to make it go away by any kind of coping mechanism, including drinking or something else. When you feel the fear, now all you've got to do is to move your attention to the physical sensations of the fear, what we call interoception. Now, what physical sensations are you feeling in your body? Because if you feel an emotion, it's because you're feeling physical sensations. An emotion is not something that goes on in your mind. An emotion is very much visceral. It's in your body, it's made out of tension, out of sensations. So when you realize that the fear is present, move your attention to the body. What physical sensations are you feeling? And you're going to feel, tension in the chest, in the throat, in the head. Now, keep your attention active in feeling 2 of 3 of those physical sensations. Because those physical sensations are just a memory. It's an outdated prediction. Feel the physical sensations and do nothing else than to feel the sensations. As you're feeling actively those sensations are going to start moving, changing in the body. It is, if you will, a prediction, a memory, an interoceptive memory playing out. You have to keep your attention active in feeling what's going on in the body without trying to control it. Because if you try to control it, your brain is going to take this control as there is an actual danger because he controls it. We're going to repeat the pattern. You've got to keep your attention sharp and active, feeling as the sensations change in the body. These sensations will change for a period of between 2 seconds and 90 seconds maximum. This is how long an emotion lasts in the body if we don't keep on thinking about it or thinking about something else or having some guilt or an actual clean, pure emotion do not last more than 90 seconds. But you got to feel it without telling yourself stories or trying to make it feel better. At the end of this prediction, meaning at the end of the sensations changing, your brain is anticipating for you to be hit by some kind of danger based on a past experience. Now, at the end of this prediction, nothing is going to happen to you. You're going to be safe and sound from that very instant, that prediction will be updated. That means that this emotion that you might have been feeling for decades will be resolved, because we update predictions from the moment that we were born until the moment we die. That's how we learn. It is the same thing for emotions.
So you're overwriting an emotion based on the last experience that you had. And that's the way you can overcome feeling fear from particular situations. Can you give us an example? Because, in everyday life, if you then come across a situation like this, would you not be, say, for example, it's alerting you to danger based on your previous experience. How do you then take time to remain calm and think about what you've just been saying?
Because I want to be precise and make sure that I give the information correctly, don't remain calm. So, if you feel upset or anxious, don't try to calm yourself down, right? No. It's when the emotion is present, is like, and I'm going to answer your question, of course, but when the emotion is present, is like a window, open to your past. It's like your body is literally a time machine. It's open, like a return to the future, right? It's like you have everything. It's like a window, a gate open to your past. If you try to calm it down, you're going to close this window. So you want to be with the emotion. Let's say I'm about to go on stage and speak, and I have fear of public speaking. And as I'm waiting to go on stage, wow, my heart is beating, my legs are feeling shaky and weak, and I have a knot in my throat. Okay, I have 5 minutes before going on stage, and I'm freaking out. So I can do breathing exercises, stretching, jumping. Well, that's all good. But next time I be on stage, the same shit's gonna happen to me. So I feel it. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to sit down. And I go out of the story. I'm going to move my attention to my sensation, to those sensations, to the weak leg, the heart beating, and the throat all at once. I'm going to feel that. Nothing else. All my attention is in my body. Basically, I am overwhelming my cognitive with my sensations. No story, nothing. Doesn't matter why I'm like this now. I feel that. And with my attention, I keep on feeling as the sensations start to change. So it's going to be worse often before it gets better. So the heart might beat even more. I might have a hard time breathing. I might feel weak and even shaking. I let it shake. I don't control it and look strong. No, if things shake, I just shake. I shake. I don't make it bigger than it is, but I just feel what's happening fully and completely. I surrender to the experience consciously. This will take between 2 seconds to 90 seconds. After a while, things will be way different. Now, it's closer for me to go on stage. If I pay attention to my body, I might feel butterfly in my stomach out of anticipation, but no tension, strong legs, clear mind, just excited, and maybe a little tense, a little sense of stress, which is normal, right? I'm about to be exposed to, an audience, but no debilitating physical sensations. Now, I'm feeling the emotion that is congruent to what's happening in my life. Because if I'm on stage, even if I mess up, nothing is going to happen to me. The goal is to feel the emotions that are congruent to what we're experiencing. I can give you another example. 2 years ago, my daughter was at the time 9, I think, and now we used to fight for the best corner of the couch, before to watch TV. So we wrestle. And my whole life, I did martial arts and things like this. And I know that when my head is being slapped, I used to feel rage. But that's something that I felt as quote unquote normal. During this wrestling match with my daughter, she slapped my face, not on purpose. But and when I felt slapped, I felt this rage coming inside of me. So I didn't do anything, of course, but I recognized the rage. So I sat next to her And I told her to hold on, and I tried to feel what was happening in me. I couldn't do it because at that instant, my daughter represented a threat to my body. She wasn't my daughter to my mind anymore. She was a threat. I'm just saying that to make a point that the emotions don't make any sense. My daughter is definitely not a threat to me, right? But at that instant, because what created the rage was so close, I wasn't able to do it. So I had to move away from her because I know the process. So I went to the bathroom, I sat down, and as I felt the rage, I felt it in my body and I processed it. And since then, I can record one time. It just doesn't happen anymore. If my face is touched as we play, I don't realize it anymore.
Because you rewrote the reaction that you have. And so, and when you when you say you felt the rage, where did you feel that? Was it in your, in your stomach, in your chest? Where did you feel it?
For what I remember, it's tension in the chest, a lot of tension, heat in the face, and like this tension in the arm makes you want to punch, makes you want to push or punch. So tension, chest, shoulders, arm, rise of temperature, probably jaw as well, and so you just feel that and you immerse yourself in what's happening. There's no fantasy, no. You feel what's going on genuinely until things change. Sometimes it becomes more uncomfortable for a while, and then things abate. Voila. And you remain active, conscious of what's happening in your body without creating any story.
And is that because you are transferring what's happening in your head to thinking about the physiological changes in your body, and therefore you stop thinking about all those things you would associate with the emotion, and actually the emotion actually becomes a response, a physical response, but and then you for want of a better word, you move on from that experience, that feeling, and that becomes your new kind of go-to, if you like, when you experience that scenario again.
That's right. That's absolutely correct. In a way, usually when we feel an emotion, we surf the emotion, right? We stay on the, if you compare an emotion to a wave, we surf the tip of the wave. And so we are angry or we act on it. We are in a behavior, right? We take on the behavior based on what we feel. Here, no. The idea is you don't stay on the top of the wave. You're going to feel the current that build the wave. You're going to feel the current within you, like in the depth of the ocean. A wave is created by the elements, sure, but it's mostly created by currents inside. It is the same metaphor. Instead of riding the wave of your emotion and spilling your emotion all over the world around you, you don't do that. You master the courage, so to speak, and you feel how it feels in your flesh. You take responsibility of it in a way, and you feel what's going on inside of you without spitting out your anger, your anxiety on the world around you, and you feel it change until it abates. At the end of the experience, the emotion will be shifted.
And where do feelings of anxiety and fear come from when you haven't experienced significant trauma?
Well, it might be that you don't remember the trauma and things that happen in utero during the first years of life. We don't remember them. And again, a trauma, it's not, we think about trauma as war, rape, bullying, car accident. But no, a trauma can be something like, I have a daughter who's 3 years old. Something that she might experience as a trauma for me might be absolutely nothing, but we change drastically around life. So it can be something that happened very early on and you don't remember because to you as an adult, it feels insignificant. Or it can be something transmitted even from a past generation, who knows? Something that comes from, that's been carrying from your parents or grandparents, etc.
So you could inherit that. You could inherit that trauma from your family. And then the relationship then, if we down build, if we then relate that to the, destructive behaviors we were talking about earlier. So if you are able to rewrite, control your response to these traumatic events and control the response physically in your body, does that mean then that we are less likely to then need to use coping mechanisms like alcohol or pornography or drugs. Is that the link?
Absolutely. Yeah. It is absolutely what it is. It is to feel what we're feeling without judging it, accepting what we feel, so we can resolve it and not needing all those coping mechanisms. You can have a glass of wine just to enjoy a glass of wine, not to ease the anxiety or the fear.
And how can things like, hope, wishful thinking, can they sometimes prevent healing?
Yeah. It's the first thing, one of the first things I tell my clients is don't hope for this to get better. Because when we start hoping for something to get better or to change, in a way, we give away our power, our diligency. If I hope to get better, like I put my faith into some hope, what does that mean? Into a fantasy. I lose any impact that I can have on changing what bothers me. Hope for me is detrimental to healing. We can have the intention of changing, the intention of healing, which is very different, because it means that we take action. We are active in our process of healing. But if you just hope for things to be better, if you hope to stop feeling that way, if you hope for things to change, nothing's going to happen. Or maybe if it does, it's a chance, it's lucky, No. Hope is detrimental to healing in many ways. Take responsibility. You are actually in charge. Boris Cyrulnik, who is a neuropsychiatrist from France, said, becoming the master of your inner world again. Having a strong intention about changing things, but being active in doing it. Not giving your faith or your power to a fantasy.
Can some people be kind of unhealthily attached to the kind of emotional pain that they've suffered? Do some people enjoy is the wrong word, but is it, is the normality of feeling that kind of comforting to them?
Yeah, it happened often. And we cannot blame these people, right? If people know where the pain is coming from, there is a part of them that might feel that if they heal the pain, it takes away the value of the trauma they lived. So if I feel better, then that means that what I endured was not that bad. It's not the case. So in a way, we become, attached to the pain because it means something to us. So basically, we keep on dying from things that we survived a long time ago. And we're having a hard time letting it go because if the pain is not here, then that means that what I lived 5-10 years ago is not relevant. No, of course, it's not the case. What happened. But us carrying the pain over the years because of some things that happened in the past is unfair and is hurting us over and over again. So it's about not attaching the value to the pain and to realize that we do not lose any of the reality of what we lived because we don't suffer from it anymore. It's about integrating something that happened instead of keep on suffering from it.
So I'm sure many people listening to this will relate to experiencing some sort of emotional pain or sometimes called emotional baggage, I guess. What are some small steps then that they can start to take? You've talked a lot about, how to do that, but just for somebody that's not done it before and wants to try this as a way forward, what would your advice be?
My advice will be to fish one fish at a time, is to be honest with ourselves and realize what emotion I feel, I see, I know is most detrimental to my life or to the people around me. Let's say jealousy. Let's say I'm a jealous man. So first thing is I accept that I feel jealousy. Do I want to keep that? If I want to keep it, then fine, keep it. What kind of, it's yours. But do you see that jealousy is actually hurting your couple more than anything else? You see that this jealousy is based on nothing else but fear. Yes, okay. So, it's not because you stop being jealous that you're going to be an idiot. If something happened, you will see it much more if you don't feel jealous than if you're always in your fear. So the first thing is to realize to pick one emotion that you don't want to feel anymore because you know it's detrimental to your life, your couple, your relationship. One emotion. And then to start being aware of when the emotion comes in your life. Pragmatically, when, I don't know, we go on jealousy, when I see that my wife is texting on the couch when I come from work. And for no good reason at all, I feel something in my guts. Who is she talking to? Who is she texting? Okay. So you realize that. Okay. I enter the house, I see my wife texting, and wow, all of a sudden, wow, there's something in me. That's first one. Put my mind into jealousy, I realize when it comes. Maybe the first time I'm going to realize afterward, but little by little, I'm going to become more and more intimate with the feeling of jealousy and realize when it comes into me. And now I know when I see something and I recognize as jealousy, okay, now I'm going to move myself away, remove myself from the situation, and I'm going to take the time to feel in my gut how it feels. Instead of asking her, hey, who are you texting to? Or trying to pick at the phone. No, all this, no, put aside. You commit to yourself to resolve this fear. You realize when you feel it, and when it's active in you, you take care of it. You feel the sensations in your body. You don't talk about it, nothing. You just feel the sensations in your body actively, 2 or 3 sensations at once, not only one, 2 or 3 sensations at once. Because if you only feel one sensation, you're going to go back in your mind and think about things. You've got to overwhelm your cognitive with sensations. You feel 2 or 3 sensations in your body at once, and you keep on feeling them as they're changing in your body until they resolve. And then you move on with your life. And you notice how you feel now when in the past, meaning yesterday, the day before, you were catching your wife do something that was creating this fear. Notice the change. It's different. So now choose another emotion. And you do the same thing. One emotion at a time.
So you're retraining yourself, really.
You're accepting who you are.
And so you've created an approach to this, a program. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So it's not me. It's a teamwork. It's different individual, and we keep on working together and researching together and making this methodology finer, simpler, in order to help as many people with as many different lives and personality as we can. Everybody's different, so we have to have a body of work that can help as many different people as we can. It's not like one technique, one protocol, but we created a body of work, a methodology that help people resolve debilitating emotional pattern. That means what I share with you is what we can do in the moment when we realize our emotions. But a lot of our emotions, they're too strong, and we cannot do it in the moment because they take us by the shirt like this, and they lead us much more than we think. So we created a methodology where people can come see a practitioner, can be a therapist, a coach, it doesn't matter, an MRS practitioner. And the practitioner will allow the brain to recreate this interoception, these physical sensations, not based on a trauma, but based on the current life. We never work on traumatic events, never, ever. It's irrelevant. Today, what is the problem? And we'll be able to get the client to feel the sensations and guide them to resolve those sensations. And we're going to work on unconscious fears, meaning like the guilt, the blame, the shame, the resentment, all this stuff that we've been carrying for years and years and years. So in one session, we're going to resolve a lot of emotional difficulties so that the person really feels changed.
And is it something, from your description, it sounds like it's quite a quick fix, but in reality, is it something you have to practice again and again, or can you just, if you know what you're doing, do it once and then you've rewritten the response?
One time well done is all it takes. Now we've got to understand that emotions are triggered in the brain, can be triggered in the brain at the speed of 150,000 miles per hour. That means within 1 minute, we, as human beings, are going to conceptualize an emotion such as anxiety, for example, as one emotion. But in the brain, it's several emotions being triggered one after another extremely fast. So you come to work on anxiety is just an umbrella for several emotions. So to answer your question, an emotion will be resolved in one round, well done. But maybe within 1 minute of your life, 1 minute of a conversation with a colleague, your wife, your kid, your brain might actually experience several emotions, several interoceptive predictions that we label as a general label, we conceptualize as anger, anxiety, etc. So it's impossible it's going to be different for everybody, but it's impossible to know exactly how many emotions are under an umbrella.
Well, it's fascinating. It's fascinating that you yourself can, with the right tools, change the way that you feel and improve the way that you respond to certain situations and change your life, forever. If people want to find out more, or perhaps they can read some more about what you've been talking about, where would they find that information?
The best way is to go to our main website, which is you can either type emotionalhealthinstitute.org or EMRES, EMRES.com.
We'll put those links in the description. Cedric, thank you. That's been really, really interesting, and I think everybody listening has found that as well. So thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure. Thank you for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you for listening to the Midlife Men podcast with me, Philip Briscoe. If you want to find out more about Cedric's work and emotional resolution, visit emotionalhealthinstitute.org. If you have a story to tell and you think your experience would help others, then please do get in contact, either via the website, mid-lifemen.com, or email me at midlifeman01@gmail.com. If you've enjoyed listening, then please do rate and review the podcast. And finally, there's now a book called Men Speak Up, Journeys Through Mental Health, based on stories from the podcast, and it's available on Amazon and from other online bookstores.